Welcome, everybody, to the premiere episode of my new podcast called Getting Real with Graham. Today, we're going to be getting real with one of my good friends named Steph. So, Steph, how are you doing today?
Oh, pretty good. It's pretty windy outside, but at least it's not negative 30 degrees, so.
I agree. The other thing that I did want to ask you about before we get started, how was it having your first Sunday off in a very long time?
Oh my god, it was amazing.
I see that smile.
I can't remember the last time I had a Sunday off, so.
No, because honestly, you work almost like every Saturday and Sunday, and to be honest with you, that would be like one of the main reasons that I would leave that job, because if you work in the morning, you have no mornings to do anything. You can't really run any errands. But then if you work until the mid afternoon, your morning's basically shot.
Right.
And so, I mean, to me, I don't know. It's nice to have at least one day off, because even when you get off work working an all day Saturday, you're like, oh god, like I'm so beat. The
Yeah.
stress dealing with crazy stupid people.
Well, it's like Monday through Thursday, I'm at school all day. And I have an hour drive there and back. And then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I'm working. So I don't have time to do anything. So,
No, I understand. And the crazy thing to me is like I love my other job, but one thing though is when you calculate how much time you spend commuting, it makes you sick.
uh huh.
Thank God for podcasts though, because I don't have a stereo in my car right now, which I guess I really don't need, but so it's great. I can like throw my phone on the seat and not touch it and just listen to the audio, because I don't drive and text, nor do we recommend it. We don't endorse it.
Absolutely not. That and drinking and driving. Can't
Correct.
tell you how many. I just lost a friend. I'm going to his funeral tomorrow because he got killed in a motorcycle accident.
Jesus, I
So,
am sorry for your loss. I did not know about that.
yeah.
So, on another note, then, today we're going to be talking about something that I've actually wanted Steph to do this podcast. I'm actually very, very much excited that she's my co host on this episode, but it was about something we also don't endorse, which is murder. And not just anybody or any scumbag who murdered someone. Today we're going to be discussing a professional NFL football player, Aaron Hernandez. And I know plenty of people have done podcasts about this already and whatnot, but we just both watched the Netflix special called, I believe it was Killer, let's see here, Killer Inside, The Mind of Aaron Hernandez, which came out, I think, in January
Yeah.
2020.
I think it was.
And I watched it right when it came out, and then I recommended it to Steph, and I think that you started watching it a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I just finished the last episode. I
How
want to
long?
say like middle of last week, so.
Okay. So I rewatched the first two episodes last night and then earlier this afternoon, and so if anything, the third episode, which I got pulled up right there, but I'm not gonna do it on the screen because I don't want to see it taken down for
Right.
copyright and stuff. Um, no, so let's just go ahead and kind of dig into it part by part, if that's okay with you. To me, the main thing that really kind of blew me away from part one is they kind of did, they did like the whole the news media wrap of it, where it was showing the headlines. And I do remember when this actually happened. I've never been a huge NFL football player fan, but um, football NFL football player. Wow, that's such a dork. I'm glad I get. Oh wow, I shouldn't even brought that up. Anyway, though, like I remember when it happened and how, like, this is one thing that I really realized today before you came over here, is that people are so wrapped up in their team, and especially the Patriots. They have such a die-hard following that. Oh, I mean, the first thing I kind of want to bring up to you is, how do you think the mentality of those crazy fans, where they cheered him on for, I don't, it was like a whole season, I think, for like a year, where I'm gonna just pull up some information here real quick, just so I actually have the facts, just so I'm not wrong. My main thing is though is I get it. We live in a state. We're just gonna go ahead and say it, Nebraska, where people are obsessed with the Cornhuskers, which is
Go
fine.
Big Red. I'm a huge football fan.
That's good. So I won't be completely out of my depth here, hopefully. So let's do this here. Okay. So, okay. This is where I think it gets a little crazy. As you know, I believe he was going to go to, let's see here. Was it not UConn?
Yeah,
Was it really?
I think so.
Sorry, that was just a little too loud. So that. Okay, so his brother, what he was actually planning on was going where his brother and dad were going to go, correct?
Yeah, because his dad went there and then so did his brother. And so he actually had like a full ride and he was signed on at the age of 14
To
because it was like a family college. They all went there.
to University of Connecticut. Okay, it's right here. So
Yeah.
that's UConn, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So that's why I'm gonna be leaning on you for this because I don't know them that well. Um, so my thing is it's so crazy that football was such a huge part of that community and family's life because that's what his dad and the brothers had in common.
Mm-hmm.
And what really shook me, though, I guess through the first part of this, is that his dad was so obsessed, and obviously the family had some troubles, being that his dad, I guess, was, how I understood in the documentary, kind of an abusive alcoholic,
Yeah, yeah.
to where he came home and Aaron stood up and protected his mom, and I guess him and his brother got a lot of beatings from his father, and then when he stood up to him, and then it made his dad even angrier in that he, I guess, busted up his mom with some punches or something. Aaron was trying to use the phone, and things basically were spiraling out of control. And I'm not exactly certain when. Let's see here. So you said it was 14 where he signed on, but what I think is
Yeah.
even crazier is that he thinks that he's going to go to UConn. I'm sure that's what he was obviously assuming because
Right.
it's a family plan. But what I want to know is this is what I think is really fascinating. Um, okay, so he's growing up in a town, and let's see here. I believe it was in the late 90s. And so when he was, sorry about this, people. So this is what I think is crazy. So Aaron Hernandez, his dad actually died in January 2006 from complications of a hernia surgery.
Mm-hmm.
Coincidentally, I also had two of those when I was a baby.
Well, like, how crazy is that? Like, I don't want to say it's a simple surgery because, like, I couldn't do it. But at the same time, like, there's thousands
So many
done
people get them
every
done.
day.
Yeah.
And it's just like,
This is what I think though is if he was an alcoholic, he probably was not in the best health.
right, right.
And I know if someone's a really hardcore alcoholic, that's why they always say, don't drink or eat anything a day or a day and a half before you go into surgery because they don't know what chemicals and stuff like that. Because I have an uncle who's an anesthesiologist.
Oh, okay.
And he said that the anesthesia can react just to any slight variance.
Yeah, yeah.
And so, I mean, one of my biggest fears, sorry for this tangent, folks, but this is our podcast. So, what I find really crazy, though, is there was a movie that came out, and I can't remember who was in it. Not Jessica Biel. It was the lady in the Fantastic Four, Jessica Alba. She played this guy's girlfriend, and this guy's going into a major surgery, and her and like the surgeon are in cahoots, but this guy actually wakes up, but he can't move during his surgery, so he's feeling
So it's like paralyzed.
completely. He feels everything, and his girlfriend, Jessica Alba, her his girlfriend Jessica Alba and his mom are there. But little does he know, like, his girlfriend's been like Miss Perfect and everything like that, like being the concerned girlfriend. But in reality, she's trying to get him dead. I don't know if they were married, but like somehow she was gonna get like his life insurance money,
Right.
or she had a policy out on him. I think that's what it was. She had taken out a policy and she became the beneficiary. But just the fact that he was in surgery and feeling everything, and you should definitely check it out sometime. It's kind of dated.
Yeah, I can.
It's 2008, but I'd watched that movie, and literally the next day, 2 days later, I woke up and I thought I was dying. I feel like someone had stabbed me with a butter knife and found out my appendix was gonna burst.
Oh,
And so I did anything. I was like, oh, I can't have surgery. And of course, there was no surgeon in O'Neill at the time.
Right.
So then I had to have all these crazy, embarrassing tests taken, and then I got ambulance to Norfolk. And my mom, who wasn't living in Iowa, it's a good 5.5 hours away.
Mm-hmm.
She gets there in like 2.5 hours.
Holy cow.
That's a mother's love for her son.
I remember her telling me that story, actually. She was like, I sped there. Yeah. But, I mean, it really is.
I mean, but I was so scared of being put under, because I'm like, what happens if I feel everything?
Right. No. I was terrified to get my wisdom teeth out because I'd never been put under for anything before. And I was so scared I wasn't going to wake up, or, I was going to wake up in the middle of it. And I was terrified.
So that's the other thing is, you're lucky, because when I had my wisdom teeth taken out, I was just listening to a Tuesdays with Stories podcast with Joe List and Mark Norman. Check them out. They're really great comedians. Love you guys. Joe List was talking about, like, he got put out for his wisdom teeth taken out, and I got like 7 or 8 shots of Novocaine or Lidocaine or whatever, and then all my friends who've gotten their wisdom teeth taken out said that they were like put under.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think I had like the mask or whatever, but I wasn't like out. Like,
I was out.
They gave you like an IV. Like,
yeah, I was out. Like, they woke me up and they were like, "All right, Steph, like, strong legs."
You're like,
and
what
I'm
happened?
like, yeah, I'm still sleeping, and they have me sat up, and they were telling me strong legs because my legs weren't gonna want to work, and they were trying to put me in the wheelchair, and so I fell on the ground because they couldn't catch me.
They didn't have someone like holding you by.
No.
Did they like take you on a wheel? I guess it's a dental surgery, so I don't think they can.
They had a wheelchair there for me.
But like from getting out of like where the
dentist... bed, and then like the wheelchair was right next to the bed. They just had to get me off the bed and into the wheelchair, and they dropped me.
You like fell between like the wheelchairs right next to you, and you like pushed the wheelchair out. That is crazy. I felt them actually cutting my gum open.
Oh my god.
No pain though. No pain whatsoever.
I couldn't. But
I ended up getting a dry socket, and like afterwards, I did a lot of research into it, and people say that the amount of people who don't get put under versus the people that do, they have less chance of getting a dry socket. And people, this isn't a freaking science podcast for medical. I'm just going by what I've talked to people about.
Okay, but like my dentist told me that dry socket will happen no matter what you do. So it doesn't matter if you smoke. Yeah. Doesn't matter. Yeah. You could, use a straw, smoke, whatever, and you might not get it. But then somebody like me who followed all the rules, I still got it.
Yeah. I actually I think that I kind of screwed myself over, and I can't remember. I think I tried smoking a cigarette, but like, even though like, yeah, I get it. Like, I was like, at that time I was craving a cigarette, so what are you gonna do about it, people? Toss off. You know what I mean? But like, trying to drink anything without a straw almost is because I'm trying to get it like right down my tongue and right down.
Oh yeah.
And
I got it all over me.
So going back to like we were talking about the complications of a hernia surgery, like I had one literally when I was born.
Mm-hmm.
I had to have one, and I still got the crazy scars. But we're talking about his dad was an abusive alcoholic, and this is just me quoting from the wiki page. The beatings Aaron Hernandez's father gave him and his brother were sometimes for no reason at all or were alcohol related. So I guess he didn't beat him just when he was an alcoholic. He just was abused his children. But often came when their father believed they were not trying hard enough in school or athletics. DJ and Hernandez, I'm talking about Aaron, lived in constant fear of their father, but also revered him. Right? Is that the correct word? Like,
Probably, I think, I don't know.
Hernandez once came to school with a black eye that his coach believed resulted from his father hitting him. His father once punched Hernandez's youth football coach after a dispute about coaching methods. Jesus. Wow. Talk about, what do you call it? Not overbearing. Sideline parent coaching or whatever. That's what that is, right?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
According to Hernandez's brother DJ, Hernandez was also sexually molested as a child. A teenage boy in his babysitter's house forced Hernandez to perform oral sex on him. So, okay, I'm going to finish this out and then we can go on this.
Okay.
Perform oral sex on him, beginning with when Hernandez was 6 years old and continuing for several years. A college friend said that he never dealt with the sexual abuse. It led to issues in his sexuality. Okay. So
I want to get to that,
okay,
by the way.
So some of the notes that I was talking about was about, I believe his friend was Dennis Sansucci. I don't know how to say his last name, and it's kind of Italian, but from watching this series, I get the real feeling that he, growing up how he did, his dad was a real man's man, you know what I mean? Like, he would never talk about your feelings.
Yeah.
One thing that
they mentioned that a lot in the documentary.
And one of my things that I want to ask you about is he had a lot of women cousins, and they were talking about how he wanted to be a cheerleader.
Mm-hmm.
And his dad, as they quoted, beat that idea right out of him.
Mm-hmm.
And what I think is when you have a situation like that where not only there's no way for that father to be open-minded and understand just because,
right.
you know, but I find like situations like that, and like I said, people, this is just, you know, a podcast. We're not therapists, whatever you want to call it, psychologists. We're just
I was waiting for you to get there.
We're just commentating, you know, our reactions. But my thing is what that does though is I feel like that father was somehow obviously abused and he was an alcoholic, but normally even some people like that will become open-minded or evolve to, you know, like into the 21st century, you know?
Yeah.
And the fact that he died, and I mean, what I want to ask you though is, what do you think his reaction would have been if he would have caught him and his high school buddy, I believe it was the quarterback, Dennis, having sexual intercourse or their
like experimenting.
Activities. Yeah, or as they called, horsing around.
Right.
A lot.
Honestly, I don't know. I know that as he was called the man's man.
Aaron's dad.
Yeah. I feel like if he was with a woman in there, he wouldn't care. He would actually probably praise him.
Oh, yes,
because it's just like, you know, oh, you the football player, you have a girlfriend, like, you know, whatever, but
100%. Which is sad.
Right.
Which is very sad. And
because if it was his daughter,
that guy would have gotten a beaten so bad.
Yeah.
That's the kind of girl where you date her without ever going to meet her parents, maybe the mom, but I feel like, I don't know, it would have been such a weird environment for a girl, because it was just two brothers, him and DJ. Yeah.
But I don't know how he would have reacted, because like I have a very loving father, I have a very accepting father, and he will support my siblings and I in whatever we want to do. And so it's hard for me to think about a father not being that way for his kids. Does that make
Oh,
sense?
100%. I mean, I haven't always seen eye to eye with my dad, but, over time, whatever rocky relationship we had is now paved out like smooth asphalt slash concrete, and we got a good thing going. But my thing, though, is it seems like any father daughter relationship, it's one of, like, deep trust and loving and caring, but and see, this is why I'm glad that I'm having you on, is because as a guy, like, it's like if I was always in kind of, as I said, revered his father. If my dad, used to, my dad used beat me and my brother or whatever because we weren't doing good in school. That alone is planting the seed for a deeply troubled psychological development, because it says even right here in 1991 they filed for bankruptcy. And my thing is this, is that Aaron Hernandez was he's a year younger than my brother. He died at age 27. Okay, so he's 2 years old and his family files for bankruptcy. And I've known dozens of people that have had to do that. And let me tell you, during that time, that family is not all lovey-dovey. Everything's
No.
going to be okay.
No, not at all.
It's a serious tension in the air.
Mm-hmm.
And that stress compounded with him maybe trying to relieve himself by drinking excessively, and which is going to add to more physical. And one thing I don't think they touch on it as much, though, is that physical abuse. They don't talk about, like, the mental abuse, or I don't want to say passive aggressiveness, but he wasn't being completely supportive and open with his sons and his wife. There was
Right.
like psychological abuse. I
Yeah.
guess is
Oh,
what I
yeah.
said. Like, you're gonna be crapping your pants, scared
Uh-huh.
of this guy coming home in any mood other than a good mood, which I'm assuming a lot of the time he wasn't in a good mood, especially if he'd been drinking. He's gonna take it out on someone, and fortunately it was Aaron's mom, and then his brother DJ, and then Aaron. And I can completely see, though, with how him and his friend, I think how this kind of started, where I gathered from the documentary, was that when Aaron expressed any feminine traits, which, to be honest, guys aren't 100% like manly man, you know what I mean? Like, whatever, you might enjoy some show more geared towards women or females or whatever.
I tell you what, my boyfriend enjoys his back to be scratched and being the little spoon. So,
No, but that's normal.
Oh, for
any people that
sure.
say that it's not, they're completely bullshitting.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry, people. This is just our opinions to toss off. We're gonna say what we want to say. So my thing, though, is the fact that Aaron was playing with his older cousins, and they were, he was talking about wanting to be a cheerleader. Kids come up with all crazy types of ideas, and that doesn't mean that's what they're gonna end up doing.
I wanted to be a garbage man.
Okay, so is this not the same? Is this not the same, though, right now?
I mean, my dad was a garbage man when I was born until I was like in elementary school. And anytime anybody ever asked me, it was either a pediatrician or a garbage man. That's what I wanted to be. And now I'm in school to be a teacher. So,
Which I find, like, teacher, like I said, like, it always seems like whenever you watch old movies, and it was always like all the high school teachers were always like male, and like from the 1950s before that, and then like the 60s and 70s and 80s you start seeing way more female teachers.
yeah. And nowadays it's
Mostly female.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And I think that really is because women are more nurturing. That's like a major trait.
I would have to say so, yeah.
But I mean, there's still plenty of guy teachers. So what I want to know is, what do you think Dennis, I believe his dad's name was, what do you think he would have done to Aaron if he's like, I want to be a teacher? I think what happened is his father was so dead set on them playing football and following in his footsteps that anything that varied from that course of action was an insult to him.
Right. But I mean, like, Aaron had
Natural talent.
a God-given talent. He was a very talented football player.
Yes. And
And it was fun to watch him too.
Oh
And I'm not even a Patriots fan.
no,
I don't like the
I
Patriots.
always just I always just on the Patriots. But my thing is from watching him play football, he was incredibly fast.
Mhm.
He could maneuver like no one's business. I mean, that guy would break tackles, and I mean,
And I mean, like,
how many what's it called? Super Bowl rings did he have? One or two or one at least?
at least one, yes, because and then they went to the Super Bowl, I believe, when he was in
Going
trial.
okay.
Yeah, because I remember the judge saying, "I'm not going to take watching the Super Bowl away from you, but anything that
Oh,
comes back to this case, you
because
have to."
it was the Patriots. And
Yes, yeah, yeah.
wow. Okay, so I'm just looking at their stats right now, and it says, sorry people, let's see here. So that's what I think is really fascinating is Aaron, I think his father passed away, and I believe it was. I want to make sure I have the dates right, so I can somewhat call this somewhat professional. But my 2006.
Mhm.
So that would make him, if he was born in '89, that would be 11 plus 6. So he was 16.
Yeah, yeah.
So after that, his father passes away, and
I mean, that's when a, a teenage boy needs his dad the
the
most.
most almost.
He
Yeah.
needs a positive male role model, and whether his dad was alive or not, he
Wasn't
wouldn't
going to
have
have that
had that.
influence.
No.
No. Because that's not positive. Beating your mom up or beating his older brother up. I feel like when his brother went off to college too, I feel like he was there by himself.
Yeah, yeah.
And even though his father, because this guy was such a good athlete that he was getting basically drafted or recruited
At
like
14.
was it 14?
Yeah,
Yeah, sorry,
yeah.
the UConn thing. So my thing is that he had such an amazing natural God-given athletic ability, but that deep-rooted insecurity from, I mean, if I can't imagine, my heart goes out to anybody who's ever been sexually abused or molested, but at such a young age, that, I mean, that is just crazy.
Honestly, there was so many things that,
So many red flags at the beginning.
yeah.
And
I mean, and we'll get to, his brain scans and
Yeah,
whatnot,
definitely.
but I feel like there was so much leading up to his professional football career, and
that was setting the footsteps of
yes,
catastrophe down
yes, he didn't come from the best background. His dad was a first generation
the road.
immigrant.
Yes.
And I mean, he did a great job. Both of his sons were great at football. One of them went on to be a millionaire because of football. But just there was so much leading up to him growing up, and I think that's where a lot of these issues came from.
100%.
For sure.
100%. And my thing is I mean, you, when you are being recruited by colleges at such a young age and where you have the intention of going playing for University of Connecticut, that right there, along with all the psychological effects of being sexually abused at 6 years old, continuing on several years, I can understand why he was having such extreme difficulty grappling with his sexuality. So what I find is interesting though is in this, it's not necessarily a direct correlation, but they say a very large percentage of people that are sexually abused at a young age turn to become abusers down the road.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like even though he didn't become like abuse young children or anything, he did express his homosexuality by hooking up with the high school quarterback.
Which, I'm sorry, but I don't like that they put it in there. Because, for one, I don't know what it has to really do with the murders.
Okay, let's expand upon that. We can see that towards later, but what I think that has to do with. I think that is one of the major reasons that this all unfolded.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put that down as a note, but I'm very serious because I had this discussion with someone else not too long ago.
Mm-hmm.
So let's just wrap up part one. So basically, the part one of the documentary series. I mean, what I find very interesting is it shows the highlights, basically, of basically the pandemonium of him. It kind of like wraps up when the alleged murders, I don't know how we legally protect ourselves, but happened, and then it shows him driving back to his palatial mansion and getting out of the car. It might have even showed him picking up. I can't remember if no, but he drives back home with two of his cronies, and he gets out of the car, and with the footage, how it was is you see him having an object in his hand, which I find kind of obvious that it looked like a gun.
When they were playing it back in the courtroom for his fiance, I could see where she was coming from. I mean, she clearly knows what's in his hands.
Of course,
she's seen those tapes, but to me, it doesn't scream that it's a gun.
But when his hand is held
down. Yeah. His hand, he was trying to hide it. He didn't have it out in the open. You could see on his face that he had just done something wrong. But the images were blurry.
But here's the thing, though. Like, whenever you take a video format from a home security system, especially being that this was not in 2020.
Right. I mean, it was in 2013,
I believe. I'm going to check the dates on that. But my thing, though, is once they take it from their home security footage and then they got to convert it to whatever. Cause I don't think that, he was having it record on just like a hard drive. I'm sure they got to go and there's some database. So whenever you transfer any video formats over, it's going to get more and more grainy.
Right. Well, it's like sending a video via text message. They always come out crappy.
Yes. And the thing is, though, is... Yeah, so this is what I find, yeah, you're right. It was 2013 was his very last incident with the law, which was the murder of Orrin Lloyd. But my thing, though, is going back to the trial, I just think it's crazy, though, that on one side of the gallery of courtroom, how there's one side for the plaintiff and one side for the defendant, that two sisters are on the exact opposite sides. And so my thing is this, though, is the fact that these two sisters were raised by a single mother. Father wasn't in the picture. The fact that one is dating Aaron Hernandez, who eventually has a kid with him, and the other was dating Odin Lloyd. And let's see here. I'm just trying to find out who his girlfriend was real quick here. What I find very, very crazy, though, is that they were growing up like best friends. Like, they said that they were like twins, that they were inseparable. And to go that... How am I trying? I don't want to sound stupid when I say this, but to be so close like that, and then have such a monkey wrench, do a 180. You don't imagine two sisters. They're dating. I think he was in like was it like a semi-pro?
Yeah,
semi-pro football?
He was, yeah.
And the other one being this big NFL star. Ending up to where Aaron's girlfriend is on the witness stand, basically testifying on his behalf, and her sister's now deceased boyfriend is dead, and she wants to see justice, and she knew, I think his sister, Owen's girlfriend knew that he was bad news.
Yeah.
He just... Well, we'll wrap that up here. We'll talk about the trial, I guess, right now. But my thing is that the fact that she was so loyal to Aaron during the trial when he sent her a text. Okay, first off, I'm going to skip back a few beats here. When Odin was getting picked up by Aaron, I got to find his girlfriend's name, so he sends her a text message saying, "Hey, just so you know, I'm with him, NFL.
Yeah,
NFL.
yeah.
Shania Jenkins."
Yeah. That text was...
He was fearful of something.
Yes, he was. You could tell because he doesn't say his name.
Correct.
He just says, "I'm with NFL," or NFL or something like that.
Yeah.
Like, he wanted her to know, like, hey, just in case.
Okay, I actually just pulled up the text messages. Oh, wow. Crazy with this. So, yeah. Right here. Minutes before the alleged murder took place, Lloyd had the ominous text message conversation. It was with his sister. I forgot it wasn't with his girlfriend. It was with his sister.
Oh yeah.
Which I almost want to know if he was quiet about this with his girlfriend. Mm-hmm. Because if they're so tight, they might talk a bit, and if it gets back to Aaron.
Yeah.
And so this is what I find just crazy fascinating. It says, according to the prosecutor's story, 27-year-old Odin Lloyd was picked up from his house at 2:30 a.m. What are you doing?
Nothing good happens after midnight.
I was just listening to the Eric Clapton song. After midnight, we'll let it all hang out. So anyway, was picked up from his house at 2:30 a.m., driven to a remote part of an industrial park. If you're ever getting driven to an industrial park, jump out and run. Seriously, that's
nothing good happens after midnight and
at an industrial park,
parks.
unless you're working there during the day. But at nighttime, stay away. And a remote part of an industrial park, and murdered by Aaron Hernandez and two associates at around 3:30 a.m. I just kind of want to know what he was feeling on that drive there, because he had to have known something was up. So, like, my thing about this is, like, and we'll talk about this here shortly, but I'm just gonna write a note about it, is what he thought was the not the predication, but like his reasoning why he thought Aaron was gonna kill him, and really why Aaron killed him. But I'm just gonna write a note about that. So he gets driven there at 3:30 a.m. in minutes before. So this would had to have been okay. In the car ride is when he sent these text messages.
Yeah,
I thought it was before he got picked up.
No, yeah, it was in the car.
Okay.
He could feel the tension and how they were acting, I'm guessing, because
when you're in a car with someone, you can pick up on their mood.
Who's gonna? Especially when you're in a car with three other guys.
Two people who you probably don't really even know.
They're sweating, probably. They're fidgeting. You know something's up, and I don't know.
I mean, maybe you can answer this, but if you get in the car, right, or you and your brother are you and your boyfriend are having like an argument or a tiff, and he comes and picks you up, like, you can tell what mood someone's in.
Oh, 100%.
And I mean, come on, like, I'm one of my Gallup 5 top strength is like empathy or whatever, so like I can really pick up on that stuff. Yeah, he was picked up at 2:30. Odin Lloyd, 3:07 a.m. Did you see who I am with? No response. This is 4 minutes later, 3:11 a.m. Odin Lloyd, hello. Sister texts back. 8 minutes later, she is a slow responder.
You have no room to talk.
I was in the shower. My phone was dead. Who? Odin Lloyd. 3 minutes later at 3:22 a.m. NFL. And then 1 minute later, just so you know, he sent that to his sister. Lloyd's sister saw him leave the house. Oh, so they must have lived together, or she was over at their house. Because it says Lloyd's sister saw him leave the house with Hernandez in 2 other minutes. I didn't know that she was there. The prosecution says Lloyd was murdered between 3:23 and 3:27 a.m. That is crazy that they can narrow down the. Well, yeah, they triangulated it. Really.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean that, and they can typically get it between a couple of hours, just because of like the decay and and they'll take in the elements of like, okay, so it was snowing this day, so they're gonna be, a little more preserved.
It'll affect how well it's preserved, I should say.
But they can get it. One thing that I've learned from watching what I do is that they can even tell by like mummification on how old a dead body is. They can say, oh, this one's been dead 5 years, this one's been dead like a month, this one is no more than a week.
That's why it's crazy. I need to have you meet Heather. I want her to get on the podcast. She lives next door. She used to be the person who would go and like find a dead body and load it. I think she worked as like a mortician, or she also did an autopsies or something. I'm not sure, but now she's a massage therapist, so that's a complete 180 ego from working on dead bodies to live bodies. But she would tell me, though, she went and found a body down, I think it was in Kansas or Oklahoma, in like the middle of July or August, and it had been like chopped up in like a tractor, like a combine or something. There was a big incident, and she said it had been there for days in 100+ degree weather.
Yeah.
And then I was asking her, I'm like, so that's why some people, like, even though, like, if somebody, like, they get their fingers cut off or something, like, yes, people, we do love true crime podcasts.
Oh my God, I love them.
Shout out Small Town Murder.
Favorite,
and, Crime
absolutely.
And last podcast on the left, love you guys. My thing, though, is so if it was colder, they would be able to have an easier time because there wouldn't have been as much decay due to the cold weather preserving the body. Okay. So this is what I find fascinating, though, is he's getting taken out of there. He texts his sister. He doesn't get a response back. And what I find even way more fascinating is that the fact that when he sends that last text message, this is what's crazy. 3:23 a.m., just so you know. This is what's insane. The prosecution says Lloyd was murdered between 3:23 and 3:27. So he could have sent that text message, been out, because they said that they killed him execution style.
Yeah, they did.
So that means that you're on your knees and they shoot from behind your head? Not to sound too ghoulish, people, but, like, I would just like to know, like, what was said between them, or if they were, like, all hopped up on drugs or something. And I want to get into the meat and potatoes with you, is that I just think that I thought that they said that the execution happened after he sent that last text message. So he could have been doing the thing where you have your phone in your pocket and you're texting without someone seeing it, but I probably think that he was in the car. I don't know if they saw him texting or something, but he sends the message and they say get out, or they yanked him out, because I know I would. What good is gonna happen to me when I'm getting shoved out of the vehicle with two henchmen who basically what they were? They were like low life gangsters. I think it was like I can't remember the exact area what they said it was, but it was outside of Boston, I think. It's just North Attleboro. Oh, that's where his house was. They're from Bristol, Connecticut, which I hear Bristol is kind of not the nicest area in Connecticut. What I think, though, is the fact that they murder him and they drive back, and his girlfriend's on the stand. They're watching the video footage, and I get it. I know what you're saying by it's not 100% certain it was a gun. But the fact that he was trying to hide it.
Right, and that's what tells you that it is, but...
Right, because if it's anything, you just have it in your hand. Right? But she was by his side 100%, which...
breaks my heart.
Do you think that she knew that he did it, or that it was the other two guys?
I think she knew. Because...
But she has a kid with him. She probably wants to not see him in jail, and wants her daughter to not grow up with a father that's in prison.
Right.
see, that's like, I get it though, where she's coming from,
Mm-hmm.
but like the fact that not only that, but
And her lingo that
she's so broad
yeah,
with it and generic.
I disposed of it.
Yeah, and
You can't say I threw it away. I disposed of it. Where at?
right,
In a dumpster.
right.
What dumpster? Where was it? I don't know.
That's what I wanted to talk to you about. So this right here is, it was a 45 caliber handgun. She had. How did his girlfriend not remember what or where the dumpster was that she had placed the unknown box that contained the 45 caliber gun? That right there is it's a direct signal that she knew what was in there.
Yeah.
And at first, like the first time I watched that, I'm like, maybe she's just really daft, or I don't want to say dumb, but like ignorance is bliss, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So the first time I watched it around, I'm like, oh, maybe she was just that, you know,
Benefit of the doubt type of thing.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
like maybe he was holding it for one of his other friends and
Mm-hmm.
they did the deed.
No,
But-
Mom, it's not my cigarette. I'm holding it for a friend.
Right, right. So my thing is that when that automatically gave her the title of unreliable witness,
Oh, yeah.
which she should have been, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
And my heart was breaking for her sister, though.
Mm-hmm. Because she needs that support. Her boyfriend was just murdered. You know damn well that it was your fiance that did it. But, and yeah, I like you said, I understand she's got a kid with him.
He's a big star.
Yeah,
He's
she
got that.
needs that money.
Yeah, I mean, $40 million goes a long way, and
Yeah.
right. I'm also gonna put a little note on that though, because this is something that I found out actually recently that I think you'll find quite interesting. So the trial goes on, and they basically claim her as an uncredible witness, which obviously the lingo that she was using and how broad she was being with the way that she was answering the prosecution's questions.
Mm-hmm.
So this goes back, now I kind of want to go back to like what you thought. We talked about the abuse, the molestation. What I think though is where it really started going downhill though, in regards to psychologically, is that his mom started having his dad's best friend, or were they a relative?
I think it was
one of his
best friend.
That's what I thought. That's because.
But yeah, how messed up. Like, your husband just died, and granted, he wasn't the best husband, but he just died, and now you're playing house with someone else.
100%. Oh, here we go. Okay, ready for this?
Mm-hmm.
Hernandez became estranged from his mother. So this is the time frame right after his father died, January 2006. He was actually 16. Aaron was. According to his mother, Hernandez was greatly affected by his father's death. From personal experience, like what I've seen of other people, is even if you're not that close with your dad, and he might be getting the crap kicked out of you, but like he just wanted his dad's approval so much, and he wanted to be what his dad wanted him to be more than anything else. And so I'm sure that his dream in life was for his dad to see him play college football.
Yeah.
Then go pro, if possible.
Yeah.
That would have probably helped him a little bit in life, but I think that his father dying stunted him mentally so much that Aaron had no idea, and Aaron didn't know how to ask others for help on a psychological sense, which I find really quite sad, despite what he would later go on to do to people, because everyone should not feel ashamed or embarrassed for asking for help. You know what I mean? For any of your
Absolutely
psychological woes. And so continuing on to this, it says that he was estranged from his mother largely. Was greatly affected by his father's death, and he acted out his grief by rebelling against authority figures. Those who knew him said that he never got over his father's death, I agree 100%.
Right.
Hernandez became estranged from his mother and largely moved in with Tanya Singleton, his older cousin. I thought it was his aunt. It's his older cousin. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think that they were closer than him and his mother ever were after this stuff.
100%.
And I don't think that was the best environment for him to be staying at, was his older cousin's house, because from what I understand, it was a nonstop party where they were doing dope and stuff like that. Drinking and the doping, and I don't agree with it. And his following Dennis's death, the family learned that Terry, his mom, Hernandez, and Singleton's husband. Whoa! I had this completely wrong. Wow. Okay, folks. So following Dennis's death, the family learned that Terry Hernandez and Singleton's husband, so that would have been his cousin's husband.
I remembered it as you said it.
Yeah, Jeff Cummings had been having an extramarital affair. So I thought that they were sisters, Terry and what was her name? And Singleton. I'm trying to figure out what her name was. I can't remember her name right now. But anyway, I thought it would have been her brother-in-law, because I thought that his mom and his older cousin were sisters, so I thought it was like his aunt that he went and stayed with.
Right.
But then I find out that it's his cousin. So that it. Wow. Okay, so this is just crazy. So Jeff Cummings had been having an extramarital affair. After the affair became public, Singleton and Cummings divorced. Cummings moved in with Terry. Wow. This is just nuts. The enraged Hernandez moved in with Terry. This enraged Hernandez. It was while he was living with Singleton that Hernandez became more involved in criminal activity. In jailhouse conversation, Hernandez accused his mother, Terry, of failing to obtain medication for his attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, which he said caused him to struggle in school. 100%. Yeah. I can so see that now, though, with people that I know that have, ADHD or ADD. Like, if they're struggling in school and then they're not on their medication, it just makes their entire life so much
harder.
Yeah. And then that compounds only everything else. It's just, needed depression, anxiety. In another call, he told her, there were so many things I would love to talk to you about so you can know me as a person, but I never could tell you. And you're going to die without even knowing your son. And I feel like he is being dead honest because he's in jail. I think he knows what's going to happen. Wow. So to me, following on this timeline right here, the fact that he moves out of his house, age 16, his mom picks up with his relative. I mean, it wasn't, I don't think, blood relation, obviously, but still, his cousin's husband. And then what I find fascinating is that this guy and Aaron basically switch houses.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't think about that until just now. Like, so obviously he moves into his cousin's house. What they said, there was some marijuana and maybe other drugs that were being taken and drinking. It was a party constantly. And at this time, he's having some difficulty with his schooling, but he's also knows that he can basically, fall under his football. So just as a real quick side note, it says Hernandez was popular in high school. He first began dating his future fiancée, Cheyenne Jenkins, during high school. The two had known each other since elementary school. He also smoked a large quantity of marijuana, smoking before school, practices, and games. His social life included a sizable amount of drinking in addition to the marijuana. So I want to do a side note on here, just from what I understand, is that if you already are troubled with serious mental anguish, you're not obviously going to a counselor or seeing a psychiatrist, you start adding lots of marijuana, cannabis, whatever, and then drinking.
And who knows what else?
Who knows what else? Obviously, we're talking about doing other drugs and stuff like that. But that is going to lead to some serious trouble. I get it. He was trying to cope, doing what everybody else was doing, whatever, trying to fit in. But it's not a recipe for success. And so recruitment, at first, as we talked about earlier, he was committed to playing at the University of Connecticut, with his brother DJ. So that was I bet his older brother was like looking forward to, my little brother's gonna come. We're gonna play on the same team, and I can tell like his older brother probably took a lot of the abuse for Aaron.
Probably.
I mean, think about it. I mean, if you had an older sibling, you're the oldest, right?
I am, yes.
So I mean, obviously, completely different setting from what Aaron, but like any older brother or sister would bear the brunt of any type of abuse first, and then once they're done with you, they're going to go on to your younger siblings. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
But I can definitely see why his brother DJ was always there to, be the shield to protect Aaron.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like once DJ went off to college, I feel like Aaron took on more of psychological abuse, because I from what I gathered that him and his brother were really close, but to Aaron he just kept on internalizing. And the one thing that I talked to you about the other day is it says right here his high school football career was insane. This is what I find just fascinating. I don't know a lot about football and stats, but it says right here, it says, as a senior, he was Connecticut's Gatorade Football Player of the Year after making 67 receptions for 1,870 yards and 24 touchdowns on offense, 72 tackles, 12 sacks, and 3 forced fumbles, 2 fumble recoveries, and 4 block kicks on defense. He was also U.S. Army All-American. The 1,870 yards and 24 touchdowns were state records. Hernandez's 31 career touchdowns tied the state record, and he also set the state record for receiving yards in a single game with 376.
Wow.
That sounds insane.
Mm-hmm.
The 7th best in national high school history. He set the national high school record for yards receiving per game with 180.7. So that's like for receiving, someone's throwing you the ball, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Hernandez was considered the top tight end recruit in 2007 by Scout. He was not known for working hard as a child, but by high school, when he was nearly 6'2" tall, he worked harder than anyone else on the team. This is where I think it really starts happening. This is really where the recipe gets mixed in, and it's a disaster down the road. During one game in 2006, Hernandez took a blindside hit so hard that he was knocked out cold. An ambulance had to take him off the field. Now, I saw that play.
I did too.
That was one of those things where after that happened, he should have never probably played football again. Take that back.
You are allowed, I believe, 3 concussions.
But you have to say, though, some concussions are way more worse than others.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that guy, how he hit him was so intense that, like, normally, you might see some activity. There was very little activity after he was knocked out for some time.
And with really talented football players,
they're not going to stop playing
football. Well, their concussions aren't always documented. And because if you have so many, you're done. You're done. Forever.
Really?
Yes.
I did not know that. I thought they were just like would take you out for the season.
You're allowed so many because that's brain trauma.
100%.
So it's like,
and with a star athlete like him, what coach is going to be like? Oh no! I mean, he just got the wind knocked out of him. Like he didn't get a concussion because I'm sure the coach would get in serious trouble if he got caught not reporting those concussions. You know what I mean?
A lot of them don't.
That's what I'm figuring out now, because the coach is like, hey, if he goes to play college ball and then the NFL, people are going to be giving accolades to me as as high school football coach. And like you said, I mean, a high school coach, I mean, he's like, that's having like the most adequate of respect or whatever, saying that like, yeah, I coached the guy who's now in the NFL. He won a Super Bowl, So now, like, I didn't. Yeah, you're right. They would definitely not report those concussions because why would you?
Which
is a star athlete,
right? Which is
sad.
Yeah, because
I get it though.
I think.
He's between a rock and a hard place.
Hmm?
Between a rock and a hard place,
Mm-hmm.
like
Yeah,
where
yeah.
and
Yeah, when we get to his brain scans.
yeah, definitely. Like, so going from there, like this was in 2007, I believe. Um, to me though, this right here, that first surge, and who knows, even though he might have had any other concussions before this, he was playing pee wee football, junior high, school through middle school.
Yeah.
I feel like there could have been some serious hits that
Oh,
weren't
yeah.
reported upon.
Kids are relentless.
And he was big, and he wasn't afraid to get hit or hit other people.
Right.
And so now we kind of like talked about his earlier life. What I kind of want to go into though, if you don't mind, where you talked about it earlier, I'm going to try and tie this in later on, but his what I would call on and off boyfriend,
right,
from I think it was like grade 7 through junior year,
middle school through high school. Yeah, on and off.
What I think though, that he obviously had that sexual abuse at I think age 6 or 7, and it continued on for years. I feel like though, and I get it, and people don't hit on me, but I'm like, just thinking, if he would have came out as bisexual, do you think that would have prevented college teams from recruiting him? I definitely think it would have at that time.
Because
no
at
one's
the time
there
wasn't any football players on NFL teams and
college teams
that were really good,
that were openly gay or bisexual.
Yeah, there wasn't any.
You don't see it.
No, and even if they come out to their teammates, maybe it's not reported in the media.
100%. It's sad to hear you say that, but it's true.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's like the exact opposite of like the macho man sport. You know what I mean?
Right.
But what I found,
well, and what they had said in the documentary alone was, there was 2 guys on there, and one of them was like, had explained what a beard is.
Yes.
And it was, their masculine, their masculine trait that they use as a cover up. And they were saying that, Aaron's was his fiance and his kid, and football. This guy just had football.
And that's why that guy, he was also under so many injuries.
Mm-hmm.
It's what I found fascinating.
And he actually I think he was the one that retired, wasn't he?
Yes. Because but he said he was going to kill himself.
Yeah.
He went and he actually sat down with his parents and basically broke down because he was at his wit's end so much.
Because he didn't know anything other than football. So once that was done, he was just going to kill himself. Yeah.
And you're on a Super Bowl winning team.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like, I don't know, be like Mick Taylor. He was the lead guitar player for the Rolling Stones, I believe, from 1969 to 1974, where the Stones were creatively at their peak.
Mm-hmm.
But he had joined the band as a vegetarian who didn't drink or smoke, and then he left the band as a cocaine heroin addict. And because, as I've read about him, like I saw him play guitar live, he's amazingly talented, but he got screwed out of a lot of money. But he was in like the biggest rock and roll band at that time, but they weren't giving him any songwriting credits, and so it could have been so easy for him just to say, I'm gonna just keep on with the Stones, even though my creativity is kind of going to waste. I'm still, and he wasn't being fulfilled, so he left the band. But I feel like for someone who's an athlete, where unless you did really good in college,
right,
and you remembered what you learned, because it said that even right there, Aaron, with his attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, is that he had a very difficult time in high school. And I just feel like, though, that I see where you're saying, though, about the sexuality thing in the documentary, because it really comes out of nowhere.
It does.
After it shows his girlfriend and fiance testifying.
And it's what bothers me the most is he isn't around to comment on any of the allegations. Rebuttal on anything. Yeah, because
that was after.
We've all been in high school. We've all been in middle school. Shit happens, and people experiment and people, they're trying to
It's a
find out
difficult
who they
time.
are.
Yeah, it's a very
And
difficult time in a kid's life.
who's to say that Aaron ever wanted that out?
I
And
don't think he did.
uh,
He never thought that he would come out.
right,
Yeah.
but it's like just the thing that bothered me the most was it does have to do with Aaron's mental health, but it has nothing to do with the murders. And yes, it allows us to see, who Aaron was and, you know, more into his life, but at the same time, like, he's not here to comment on
It
any
was
of
very
it.
one-sided.
It was.
It was 100% one-sided.
And we didn't hear his daughter's gonna watch this someday. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
She's gonna find it, she's gonna watch it, and whereas I hope her mother tells her kind of everything that went on, she's not gonna want
to have that growing up and be like, oh, so that's what it was. But then, luckily, her mother will still be around to, shield her from some of the, I don't know, but how, I'm just going to get right into it and say what I'm going to say, is that we're going to fast forward a little bit here, people. Sorry for kind of jumping around, but it's our first episode, so bear with us. So my thing, though, is him and Odin Lloyd, or Odin, I believe, was supplying him with cannabis, marijuana. And you really kind of see it in his college years, so I'm going to try and stay on track with this, but it ties in, though, to his, his experimenting with homosexuality and things like that, is that he is best friends and, close friends with the quarterback, the creme de la creme in high school. Every girl wants to be with the quarterback. But what I found very fascinating, though...
I liked the linemen.
Not the tight end?
No, the linemen.
Okay. So, what I find, though, is that, basically... Do you think that they were bisexual, or do you think the the quarterback was just 100% gay? Because he stated that that Aaron was just Dennis states that he was just a small part in Aaron's sexual activity. And does that make that he had way more, does this mean that he had way more boyfriends? Because he says, right, at this time frame, the girls didn't really hang out with the boys after school. And he's like, so, like, what I want to know is, did he have a beard, the quarterback? Because how he said it, maybe he was just protecting himself in a way, and Aaron at the same time. But it says that Aaron started dating his fiancée, like, at the end of his junior year. So do you think that they were bisexual, or do you think that, because obviously Aaron had a kid, but I'm sure we've known people who are gay that have had kids with their wives as...
My grandpa.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But do you think he was bisexual, or was he...
My grandpa?
Yeah.
Oh, he always knew he was gay.
But did he still...
He wanted the family. He wanted the kids.
Okay.
He wanted his own kids. And he was going to stay with my grandma for the rest of his life. But then some things happened. They got divorced, and now he's married to his husband.
I'm so happy that he's able to be happy, because... Like, looking back in this documentary, Aaron's dad, maybe, I'm almost thinking, like, did he have, like, some homosexual tendencies or things that, like, some impulses that, like, he repressed by being, like,
his dad?
Yeah. Like,
probably.
Because he was, I'm sure, like, you know what I mean? Like, I just feel like that he was so dead set on making sure that Aaron never turned out any other way than how he acted. Sorry. That he acted that almost... It pushed Aaron away from being how his dad was, and it was like, once his dad died, I feel like that allowed Aaron to be like, you know what, I'm gonna be my own man in my own way. But to think about it, a lot of their activities together, him and the quarterback, Dennis, his dad was still alive. Like he was talking about Dennis was is like, oh, when his dad would come around, he's like, okay, I gotta be on our best behavior.
I gotta be good.
Yeah, and they were smoking copious amounts of marijuana, but that kid's dad they interviewed, which I liked. Dennis's the quarterback, and like at the time though, his dad even said, you know, if I told you that I wanted my son to be anything but like a homosexual, I would tell you I'm not lying when he said that. And I'm like, but the fact that they're talking in that interview, I feel like I get it. I know exactly.
But he apologized to him too.
He did, which I found in a way somewhat redeeming of the fact that they just threw out this bombshell. But the other thing was though is this wasn't the first time that claim had been made.
Right.
There was a radio show. I think it was like a week or 3-4 days before Aaron actually ended up committing suicide, that someone had called in and stated that Aaron Hernandez had, you know, had done gay activities with that person. And I can't remember if those people ended up getting fired or something, but it was only a few days after that, and this is all speculative, I'm not 100% sure on these facts, but I'm pretty sure it was within a week after that radio broadcast went out that Aaron Hernandez ended up killing himself. And I think that it was out there in the zeitgeist of, you know, I'm sure not everybody knew, but the fact that he ended up getting his own apartment
that was for safety.
Okay, yes. I get it. The guy, I'm trying to think.
One of the key witnesses, and the guy that claimed that Aaron shot him in the face, was actually Aaron's drug dealer, and I guess threatened Aaron on multiple occasions, and actually threatened his life. Said he was gonna put a hole in his head.
This is the guy that I'm trying to find right here. Just check out the big screen. Okay, here we go. This guy I found very fascinating, and
him.
Yeah, Bradley. I'm trying to think of his name. What I find really fascinating though is then we're gonna go back to his college career, people, so just bear with us here. We're doing this for our own okay, so this guy, I would definitely call him his fixer or minder. I feel like he procured drugs for Aaron, and
he did.
He was like a hired friend, because the guy, he also provided him with a gun or two, right?
Yes.
I'm like, why didn't Aaron just go and buy a gun? You have the money. He didn't want it in his name. Or did he want to be cool and buy it on the black market?
So it was mentioned in there that his background, where he comes from.
So he did actually have some criminal charges dating back from even before the Florida incident, correct? I think he did.
He might have. But he claimed that he found some guns for him for protection, for one, and then he didn't just go buy one, because that's not what people from around where he was did.
They buy it from some other guy.
Yeah.
So I want to take a pin in this real quick and just talk about, why do you think it was so... I think that his dad instilled that being a man's man and being, you know, a tough guy. I hate that man's man bullshit. Sorry. But I feel like that led into him getting involved in such bad people, where he didn't need to be around those people. He really didn't. Those people were... They weren't good for him. But I felt like his dad's instilled this bad seed of development, where this root took place in his brain, and he's like, oh, you know, like, I'm from this area, I gotta hang out with some of these gangsters and kind of live up to that. He was playing for the Patriots, and like, I loved when they were interviewing other Patriots players, and he'd be like, what are you guys doing later on? And they're like, they did not want to go hang out with him, because they said that he had basically two sides, him in like the locker room and out in the field. But then, like, off the field, they probably knew that he was hanging out with scumbags.
Well, and it all goes back to, you know, they said that he could go off at any second. He was really cool. He was really laid back. But then
I think that the ADHD, and I don't know if he's being medicated, but also the steroids, they were giving him that stuff that they talk about throughout this docuseries where in college they were just handing out, and then in the professional, in the NFL, it was just everyone openly took it. You know what I mean? And plus all the painkillers that they were giving them,
yeah,
they were just handing them out. I mean,
play through the pain.
yeah, yeah, which is not. It's just it's like a little light snowflake on the top of a huge mountain that develops into like a fist-sized snowball, and then it just becomes a huge. So Alexander Bradley was his name, by the way. This gentleman right here.
Okay.
And I feel like this guy though. We're gonna take a pause in this real quick, and I just want to wrap up his college football career because he gets recruited. He was originally going to go play for University of Connecticut. He goes down to Florida, which someone from up north going down to Florida would be like paradise. No more crappy snow. No more cold weather.
I like the snow.
I know that, but I'm just saying. You know what I mean? For someone like him, though.
Right.
But I feel like he was so unprepared and underdeveloped for someone so young, and you're going to one of the top schools in the South. I mean, so you see some 18-year-old kids that go off to college and you know they're not ready, whether they were sheltered or they hadn't have enough life experience or they're just too immature. I feel like him going there and being part of this elite football team was a recipe for disaster because they had so much pull in that community where let's just I want to talk about this because I think this is where the bad precedent gets set for Aaron Hernandez is it starts off with this 2007 Gainesville bar fight on April 28th 2007 according to a police report in Gainesville, Florida. 17-year-old, listen, not 21, which you have to be to get into a bar here in America, people. 17-year-old Aaron Hernandez consumed 2 alcoholic drinks. That's what they say. I bet he had way more than that. Drinks in a restaurant. I love who he's with Tim Tebow.
Yeah.
And he wasn't 21 either.
No.
Refused to pay the bill. So I wonder if... Okay, it had to have been Aaron that was refusing to pay the bill. Because I doubt Tim Tebow would do that. Refused to pay the bill and was escorted out by the restaurant employee. As the manager walked away, Hernandez people that sucker punch are such bullshit. I'm sorry, but you don't sucker punch someone until you kill someone because you knock them out and they'll crack their head on the concrete. On the side of the head, rupturing his eardrum. You ever had your eardrum ruptured?
No.
You never had like a eardrum pop? It is the most intense pain.
That's what I've heard.
It's intense. It's very painful. The police responded at 1:17 a.m. Nothing good happens after
midnight.
Hernandez called Coach Urban Meyer. Oh. Silver-haired man, as Crime and Sports podcast calls them, even though he didn't have silver hair. But this guy is the definition of this. Meyer called Huntley Johnson the team's unofficial defense lawyer. When your team has an unofficial defense lawyer, it's kind of sketchy. The victim later told police that he'd been contacted by lawyers in the team and that a settlement was being worked out, something the team denied. Well, no shit. The police department recommended charging Hernandez with a felony battery. I forgot about this. But the incident was settled out of court with a deferred prosecution agreement. So he didn't even go to court. This is like saying, do as I say and not as I do.
Yeah.
100%. And this is where it gets even crazier. So this was in April. So May, June, July, August, September. 5 months later, on September 30th, 2007, someone approached a car containing Randall Carson, Justin Glass and Corey Smith on foot and fired 5 shots while they were waiting at a Gainesville traffic. So, okay, I want to make sure I see this right. So he was walking, or whoever this person was, approached a car. I mean, he was walking by the car, and the car was stopped at a traffic light.
Yeah.
After having left a nightclub, fired 5 shots while they were waiting at a Gainesville nightclub, a Gainesville traffic light, having left a nightclub. Smith was shot in the back of the head, and Glass was shot in the arm. Both men survived. I would have thought getting shot in the back of the head would have been a lethal shot. Carson, a backseat passenger, was uninjured and told police the shooter was a Hawaiian or Hispanic male with large build, weighing about 230 pounds or 100 kilograms, and having many tattoos. He picked a photo of Hernandez out of a police lineup. The police told Myers' personal assistant they wanted to see Hernandez and 2 teammates immediately. This is where it gets crazy. Detectives kept pushing coaches to bring the players to the station. They did not arrive for 4 hours. What do you think they did within that 4 hours? Do you think they sat down? Prepped them?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's what I thought too. In the interim, the players spoke with Johnson, the attorney who often represented players. Of course! Let's meet with the lawyer. 4 hours. Normally it's like 30 minutes, under an hour. Normally police will just go and arrest you and bring you in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And a lot of other college kids, if this would happen to a non-college athlete, do you think they would still get the same treatment from other major universities? No. No. They'd be shit on a stick in a barbecue. The other players cooperated with police, but Hernandez invoked his right to counsel and refused to talk to the police. Why wouldn't he talk to the police? Why wouldn't he cooperate? I mean, he has nothing to hide, right?
I don't know.
Unless he's guilty.
Yeah.
When police walked into the room to speak to Hernandez, the last of the players to be interviewed, they found him with his head down on the table and sleeping, a posture they said was unusual for someone in the middle of a homicide investigation. I would say the same. No charges were filed at the time, but due to his 2013 arrest and subsequent conviction for the murder of Ellen Lloyd, Massachusetts authorities contacted police in Florida to try to determine whether Hernandez may have had a role in the 2007 shooting. Detective Tom Mullins, who was assigned to reinvestigate the shooting, concluded that Hernandez was not the trigger man. Although Carson initially identified Hernandez as such, other witnesses that night described the shooter as looking like a black male, possibly with cornrows. When Mullins re-interviewed Carson rescinded his statement of the shooter matching Hernandez. That eyewitness testimony is the worst testimony because it's so unreliable.
Yeah.
Carson rescinded his statement of the shooter matching Hernandez and said that he never saw Hernandez at the scene but assumed he was the shooter because they had words earlier at the club. Oh my goodness. I'm drawing 2 parallels right now.
Yeah.
I forgot that bit when I watched. Oh my goodness. Go ahead.
No, just what I was going to say was he was seen at that nightclub and actually left because somebody actually spilled a drink on him.
No, you're talking about the nightclub up north or the one in Gainesville?
Oh, yeah.
Happened twice.
I forgot about that.
Pretty sure.
It did.
I don't know if he spilled a drink on him down in Gainesville, but it said having words with him at the club.
Yeah.
And this is down in Florida.
Yeah.
Now, having words with someone at the nightclub, it feels like this happens I don't know, 6 years later, and something else happens with some people in a car at a traffic light. I mean, it's just like a hypothesis, what do I know? So, okay. So, we're going to fast forward here, people, 4 years. This is 2011. Titled Plainview Fight. At 3:45 a.m. What is up with all this 2 a.m., 3 a.m. stuff? As me and Steph say,
nothing good happens after midnight.
At 3:45 a.m. on April 30th. It's crazy. He's always getting in trouble in April. My birthday's in April. Quit setting up.
Mine too.
Yeah, right? Mine's 17th. When's yours?
11th.
Oh, yes. Within a week. At 3:45 on April 30th, 2011, police responded to a fight in front of Hernandez. Oh, I remember this one now. Okay. Police responded to a fight in front of Hernandez's rented townhouse in Plainsville, Massachusetts. A high school friend had been pulled over earlier in the evening after driving Hernandez home from a Boston bar. The driver was weaving in and out of lanes and traveling 120 miles per hour in a work zone and on a highway with a speed limit of 55 miles per hour. Anytime you go over, I think it's 10 or 15.
20.
Wait, if you go over 20 miles, you're in real deep shit, right?
Yeah, you get
3 or 4 points taken.
I think it's considered
felony, misdemeanor, reckless endangerment, right? Willful and reckless driving, I thought.
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
It's like a felony.
Because I think if you go over 10 miles per hour, you're in real deep crap, too. Because that's like before, that's a misdemeanor, I'm pretty sure. I'm not certain, obviously.
Well, I got pulled over, and they said I was going 11 miles the hour over.
Did he drop it down to like 10 or 9?
No, he upped it to 11.
What?
Yeah.
But you didn't get willful reckless driving, though, did you?
No. It's more expensive ticket.
Oh, I thought it would correspond with more points. But I think it's like you go over 10, and then if you go over 20...
If it's like 15 to 20 over, I know
that's
you're
when
like...
it's
Yeah,
really bad.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Because I had some like... Yeah, it's crazy. Okay. So he's driving 100 in a work zone.
Yeah.
That's bad.
Fine's double on the work zone.
Double. Now that's not only the fine, but also I would assume your driving record takes twice the amount of points taken off too.
I think.
I would assume so. So anyway, with a speed limit of 55 miles per hour, the Massachusetts state trooper who pulled the car over did not arrest the driver because he recognized her. He was the driver?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wait, no. He said he did not arrest the driver because he recognized Hernandez in the passenger seat. How great would that be? To be a passenger in a car that's obviously the driver's drunk.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, hey, how's it going? Do you know how fast you're going? Oh, Mr. Luber. Mrs. V's. Oh, get on your way. Don't worry.
Go ahead and go.
I'll give you a police escort. Just try not to swerve into an oncoming traffic in the other lane. You know what I mean? The Plainsville police also recognized Hernandez and told the two to go indoors. That's that star treatment that doesn't help people. Mm-mm. They start to abuse. Spiral down. Oh, if I can get away with this,
then I can get away with this.
100%. So we talked about, this is kind of like following up though with his incident down in Gainesville after quote unquote having words in the bar or nightclub, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
This is something that I really wish that they would have touched upon more in the documentary, and they did, but I just feel like I get it. The crime was very murky in a way that they didn't have. It was like a weird blind spot in the footage. You know what I mean? Like you would think from where they were at that there would have been more cameras in the area.
Mm-hmm.
But the cameras that they did catch, I found so fascinating.
Yeah. It
shows Aaron and let's see here. I want to make sure that I get his name right. The gentleman that he was with. God, what is his name? So let's see here. Ooh. Sorry, I'm not going to be saying that word over here. Alexander Bradley. Him and Alexander Bradley go into a nightclub in Boston. And I love that they use this footage, though, because it shows him and Bradley walking into a nightclub.
Mm-hmm.
Shows them, like, there's a big line. You remember that?
Uh-huh. And he just
bypasses the entire line. I've never had that treatment, folks. Come on. Cut us a break. So, this is just sad, too, because the victims were, like, nighttime janitors or something, and they, like, had some money. I thought they were driving way too nice of a car for janitors, but what do I know? Maybe they owned the janitorial company or something, but just these two guys going out at night on the town.
Yeah, because they were actually immigrants.
They were immigrants.
Yeah.
Yeah, they moved here and they
they were working really hard, sending money back to their families.
Yes. So going back, this is now a year later after the Plainville fight. I don't know why it was called the Plainview fight, the thing I just talked about, because there was no fight. He just got pulled over by a cop, so They need to fix that title. So in 2012, Hernandez was investigated in connection. Listen to that. Connection with a double homicide that took place on July 16th, 2012, near the Cure Lounge in Boston's South End. You like my radio voice? Sorry. Daniel Jorge Carrera de Abreu, age 29, and Safira, sorry, I'm going to butcher this, Teira Furtado, 28, both immigrants from Cape Verde and living in Dorchester, were killed by gunshots fired into their vehicle. This is what I found fascinating. I'm going to read the sentence. I'll say, witnesses testified that Hernandez's silver SUV pulled up next to the victims, and someone from his car yelled, this is a quote, "What's up, N-word, plural." Someone from the car then fired 5 shots, killing 2 immigrants. Police immediately identified Hernandez, who was then playing for the Patriots. In the club security camera footage, but thought it was a coincidence that NFL star happened to be at the club that evening. So this is what I find a coincidence, is that it shows him walking in with Alexander Bradley, and then it shows, let's see here. I don't think they had footage of the incident where he spilled the drink Aaron bumped in, or someone knocked a drink on him.
Yeah.
But what I find fascinating, though, is that within that time span, those 2 gentlemen out on their night walk out of the club, and who follows shortly but Aaron and Alexander Bradley.
Yeah, and his SUV was seen leaving the parking garage.
Following right after there. And that's why I think that he is such a fascinating witness. All right, people. Sorry, we don't want any dead air, but can you see it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it was in that garage.
Whose
not
garage?
touched.
Whose garage was it? His cousin's.
And it was untouched that entire time, because he knew that it was, they were looking for it.
Look at that. Right there. Now, does this not look... Sorry, I got another mouse. I got a pack of mice in here. Okay. So this is what I find very, very fascinating, is look at him right here. Okay, people, we're watching right now, is we're watching some clips from it, and what I find very, very fascinating, that's why his eyes all wonky, huh?
Yeah, because he got shot in the face.
Wait, we'll get to it. So this is what I find right here, though. Look at Aaron. Not here. Wait for a second. You're gonna see it.
I'm waiting.
So Alexander Bradley. Right now, we're watching a clip of the night he left the nightclub.
And see,
silver SUV.
That's his SUV.
And it went missing off the streets. The police could not find it anywhere. Yeah. So this is what I find crazy here. Wait for it. If you watch Aaron right now, he does that nervous gulp. He is, and I don't think that he's chewing gum. That is a panic stress response to something really serious going on right now. This is what it's just. March, yeah. I mean, okay. I feel like he kind of has some kind of inferiority complex in a way, though, where if someone was to knock into him, he wouldn't. Okay, I was thinking about this stuff. I've had a drink spill on me. I've accidentally spilled a drink on someone. You know what? I ended up becoming friends with that person because we laughed at ourselves. He was so serious and so dead set on being a man's man that his dad wanted him to be. But he needed to be humbled in a way. But you can't be humbled on the football field, because then you're a loser and you're going to get dropped from your team down the road.
Right.
But that is a mentality where you mix that with that criminal element. When you buy guns from the black market and you say you need it for protection, who are you needing protected from? I get it. But if people were going to try and do a home invasion on your house because you have money, you know what? You're going to buy a gun legally.
Yeah.
Don't you agree?
I mean, yeah. I find it um, he wanted to switch teams because he wanted to get out of where he was.
Because that was after. So people were gonna fast forward. This is basically after. So we talked about the nightclub shooting. So basically, how that ended up though is, when they pulled up to the car, and it was stated that someone from the car to the right side of Aaron Hernandez, and I believe Aaron Hernandez was in the passenger seat.
He reached across and shot.
Oh, he was driving then. I thought that Aaron Hernandez was the passenger and he was having Alexander Bradley. He's like, speed up, go, go, go. Or was he driving?
No, Aaron was the passenger. He reached across the driver's seat.
Oh, so he
shot.
pulled up. Oh, because they were in the middle lane, so he pulled up on the right side.
Mm-hmm.
Aaron went like that.
Yeah. From what I gathered.
That's what I. Okay. First off, that is so dangerous. Because do you know how loud that would be in a car?
Yeah.
And I'm sure Aaron isn't like, put in your earplugs, your muffle your ear. That is a reverberation like none other. So, I thought that he had leaned like that. I thought that for first, I thought he was in the passenger seat and he just like rolled down the window. But I get it. I wonder if he shot out his own window.
Mm-mm.
No, the other window's down.
Because he yelled.
SUV and someone from his car. Witnesses testified that Hernandez silver SUV pulled up next to the victims, and someone from his car. So this is where I was confused. Someone from his car yelled, "What's up now?" Blank. So
I mean, he might have been in the driver's seat.
So someone from Aaron Hernandez's car yelled that at them.
It was Aaron.
That makes it okay. For some reason, I read it just a few minutes ago. I thought that someone from the victim's car yelled that. I'm like, I don't think they would yell that. So I think that was him.
Mm-hmm.
Being, I don't know. I really kind of think roid rage played a part into it. I think that whatever drugs he might have been on, because you could go to a nightclub.
We'll get to what I think.
Okay. I think that was him showing Alexander Bradley that, hey, Holmes, like, I'm one of the crew. Like, don't mess with me, because I feel like his crew or posse was like, oh, this is Mr. NFL. He's not actually one of us. I feel like to me, this is him being like, oh, I'm one of the crew.
Initiating himself.
Yes. And after this point right here, this is where I feel like all the drugs, the pot, the drinking, I feel like this is where his paranoia really went into overdrive.
Yeah.
Because it says, police immediately identified Hernandez, who was then playing for the Patriots, in the club's security camera footage, but thought it was a coincidence. So this is what I find. I mean, like, me and you talking right now, we've seen it. We see Aaron and Alexander Bradley walking into the club.
Mm-hmm.
However much time elapses, those two gentlemen walk out of the club, hot on their heels. Aaron and Alexander Bradley.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that just doesn't seem like a coincidence, especially when there's so many eyewitnesses saying that there was a confrontation in the nightclub.
Right.
I mean, it's just, but I feel like Aaron has that star power where they're like, a Patriots football player? Maybe he just had to get home and go to bed in time for practice, you know what I mean? So, it says that 2 years later, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So that incident with the two gentlemen happened in July 16th of 2012. On May 15th, so basically a year and like 10 months later, Hernandez was indicted. No, it was a year and 11 months. Yeah, because I'm sorry. It would have been a year and 10 months. On May 15th, 2014, Hernandez was indicted on murder charges for the killings of De Brea and Furtado, with additional charges of armed assault and attempted murder associated with the shots fired at the surviving occupants in the vehicle. I didn't think there were surviving occupants in the vehicle.
There was people in the back seat.
Oh, wow. I thought there was just the two guys.
Mm-mm.
Wow. Okay. Obviously, yeah, because when they show the footage of the people with the blankets over them, I thought it was just those two people. I'm like, obviously they would have gotten out of the vehicle.
Right.
Wow. Okay. That's where they were getting that testimony from, because if you watch, though, there was a car behind those people's vehicle who saw the whole thing happen.
Yeah.
I want to know that person's story.
Why didn't you get their
Did
license
they
plate
not?
number?
They didn't cooperate with the police, did they?
I don't know.
That's what I want to find out. So, and then it goes right here. It says, this is crazy. So it says right here, the trial began on March 1st. 3 years later, March 1st, 2017. And then, so this is what I find fascinating. This incident happened on July 16th, 2012. May 15th, 2014. So a year and 10 months later, Aaron's her.
So the timeline of it was they had no leads. They had nothing
None.
because nobody would want. Well, yeah, but no, they couldn't think of anybody that would want to kill these guys.
They had no there was no motive for them to be shot.
No, and so then, when they were,
I think it was Alexander Bradley. Didn't he bring something up about that?
No, they found the car in the garage,
I thought
during a search of Aaron's cousin's house.
I thought
And
that Bradley had brought it up during. No, I think you're right. I'm sorry, I'm getting confused. Go ahead, continue on.
And the reason it took so long is because they did each murder separately. So they'd had a trial over Odin's and then the two guys.
So we're jumping ahead, but I thought that. So he was found guilty of Odin Lloyd, but these two he wasn't? Or do I have it mixed up? I think I have it.
He was found guilty for both of them, I thought. And then after he killed himself, it wipes everything clean, and so that he wouldn't be buried a convicted murder. And then Odin's family didn't like that, so they had it overturned, and he was then a convicted killer again.
Okay, so this is where I was confused. I thought that. Okay. So, let's go back to his misdeeds, and then we'll go back to how things have been on his legal side. Okay. So it says that I didn't realize that there was more than two people in the car. Wow. Okay. So going back then, what I find fascinating is I'm just gonna draw this out here. So there's, I just the time span though, it just drives me insane. And I think that him being a star athlete, there's some lawyers able to pad the timing in between, because anybody else, I get it, our legal system here kind of drags.
Right.
But this much time, I'm sorry, like, so we're going to do July 2012, and then May 2014. And then, this just blows my mind. And then March 2017. So, it says right here, Jose Baez, Hernandez's attorney, argued that the proposed motive was implausible. I'm going to skip back. It says the prosecution case was strongly based on testimony of Bradley. So, I was right. So, it was Bradley who at first didn't report this, obviously.
Yeah.
So, okay. So, it was strongly based on Bradley. And this is where his character witness really comes into murky waters, because he's a known drug dealer who'd been feuding with Hernandez since the NFL player allegedly shot him in the face and left him to die, which he did. I mean, even though he never got in trouble for it, I mean,
because he never told people who shot him.
No, which, you know, this guy's gonna get his own street justice.
Yeah. Because
the police are like, so what happened? And he's like, nothing. I'm not gonna tell you. Like, the fact that someone says that, they're either scared of the other person, or they're gonna go and get revenge. And that's okay. So I thought that maybe he was having an affair, like a homosexual affair with someone. That's why he had that apartment. But now I realized also that he's smoking tons of pot. He's getting paranoid. And this guy who you shot in the face didn't rat to the cops.
Mm-mm.
And I found that conversations they had on the phone after the cops walked out of his hospital room. He calls Aaron, and Aaron's like, "Who is this?" He's like, "You know who it is."
Mm-hmm.
I would love to have seen Aaron's facial reaction when that phone call came, because he's probably like,
I thought you were dead.
yeah, I mean, he's probably like, Aaron's like, "Oh, most people that are shot in the face normally die." Well, sorry, I'm not good at voice
That's
impressions.
typically how it goes.
Right? Right in the face. The guy was sleeping in it, and he wakes up with a gun barrel pointed at his face. Like, what the hell? And how I understand that is that Aaron was acting all sketched out in that strip club or nightclub, whatever they were at, and there's like business guys in suits,
Mm-hmm.
and Aaron kept on going up to him, and he's like, "I think those guys are undercover cops. I think they're here to bust me." And he's just like, I think he said something like, he's like, "Act cool, and maybe if you hadn't done that, you wouldn't have to worry about it," or something like that.
Right.
It was something you could obviously tell really pissed Aaron off, because he's like, "Dude, you didn't have to just go murder 2 people in cold blood." But I wonder if Aaron thought that he actually killed everybody in the car, or if it was just so fast that he didn't know who he hit.
I don't think he saw.
Because they ended up running the light, right?
Mm-hmm.
Idiot. Just dumbass. So then it says right here that, wow. So this is what I find crazy, is that the testimony of Bradley, he's a known drug dealer and feuding since Aaron allegedly shot her in the face. Hernandez and Bradley each claim the other person pulled the trigger. That's another he said
Mm-hmm.
story.
Yep.
Jose Baez argued that the proposed motive was implausible, and Hernandez was a suspect of convenience too close to unsolved murders. Bradley alleged that Hernandez was angered after the victim spilled a drink on him at a nightclub several hours before the shooting and killed him in retaliation. Yeah, because anytime someone spills a drink at me at the nightclub, I know that I want to go and seek revenge in that sense. No. So stupid. What is wrong with him? Security camera footage confirmed Hernandez was in the club for less than 10 minutes. In that time, he calmly posed a photo with a fan and left by himself, contradicting Bradley's testimony that he departed with Hernandez. I thought that they both walked out together. That's what I thought. It says, furthermore, Baez characterized the police investigation as extraordinarily sloppy. The victims' bodies were kept in the bullet-ridden vehicle as it was towed away from... That's what I thought was weird, though.
Yeah.
That they weren't put in body bags. A major protocol violation with no physical evidence tying Hernandez to the murders. What physical evidence would be there? He didn't even get close to the vehicle. He fired into it from another vehicle.
Yeah. I mean...
My only thing would be, though, if they could figure out if he shot his car window or any residue that would go into theirs, but that's, like, highly unlikely. So, it was vehicles towed away from the shooting scene. It was a protocol violation, obviously. I find that very offensive to the justice system. With no physical evidence tying Hernandez to the murders. According to the Boston Globe, there is powerful evidence that Hernandez was at the scene and played a role in their deaths. On April 14th, I thought they said 17, that's my birthday, 2017, Hernandez was acquitted of the murders and most of the other charges, but was found guilty of illegal possession of a handgun. And we're going to wrap it up there, and join us next weekend as we delve deeper into CTE Aaron's trial involving Odin Lloyd, his last days in prison, and the aftermath of his death. Thank you, everybody, and I want to say thank you very much, Steph, for joining me in this co-host position, and I hope you had a great time. Do you have any
did.
Awesome. I'm very glad. I'm very much looking forward to next weekend, and everybody out there, have a good night, and thank you all for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.